Welcome to our deep dive today. You shared some pretty thought-provoking material, a collection of Russian texts, poetry fragments, philosophical snippets, even a physics equation. It's like someone took all the big questions about war, society, technology, and the universe and threw them into a blender.
And it's our job to sift through this fascinating mix
Yeah.
and see what insights we can extract.
Exactly. So where do we even begin? Maybe with the poetry. The lines about war, they're incredibly powerful. One snippet reads, "Ranks of troops in a twisted line, a crowd heading for eternal peace." The imagery is so vivid, but also unsettling, isn't it?
It is. There's this inherent tension between the idea of a twisted line marching toward eternal peace. And remember that other line, war's howled with its blind faith. It suggests that sometimes the very belief systems that drive us towards peace can also fuel conflict.
It's like this tragic paradox where the desire for a better world can blind us to the destruction we cause along the way. And that feeling of pain lingers even after the fighting ends. The text says pain's still alive, highlighting the long-lasting scars that war leaves on individuals and societies.
And speaking of societies, there's this intriguing phrase, social fragility index matrix, #ReadAlert. It seems to be describing a way to measure how stable or unstable a society is. And based on this text, it sounds like we might be on shaky ground.
Yeah, like a warning sign flashing. And then there's this line about countries being lonely, strange, and wounded. It paints a picture of a world struggling to heal from past conflicts, even as new tensions arise. But within the source material is also this idea that countries are being manipulated. With thousands of heads sent to war, thousands of poor worlds to the bottom, it's almost like people are pawns in some larger game they don't even understand.
This raises the question of individual agency versus larger societal forces. The text also mentions social design and propaganda, suggesting that individuals are constantly being influenced and their choices shaped by external pressures.
So even if we have free will, are we truly in control of our destinies? It's a bit unsettling to think about, especially when you consider that line, "Weak man create hard times." On the surface, it seems to place the blame for societal problems on individuals. But what if those individuals are acting within a system that's designed to exploit their weaknesses?
Exactly. It's not about assigning blame, but rather understanding the complex interplay between individual choices and the systems we inhabit. Think about it this way. If you're playing a game with rigged rules, can you really fault the players for making choices that benefit those in control?
That's a great analogy. And this makes me think about the snippet discussing how society evolves. It talks about growing from small units to cities, constantly pushing boundaries, experiencing bursts of growth and destruction. It feels very cyclical, like history repeating itself over and over again.
And perhaps that's the key insight here. If we recognize this cyclical pattern that societies rise, clash, and rebuild, only to repeat the process again, then maybe we can start to identify the underlying causes and break free from these destructive loops.
Okay, so we've got these verses about war, this cryptic warning about societal fragility, and then boom, we jump to artificial intelligence. The source material mentions the integration of human consciousness into a neuro-object, self. I have to admit, this one really threw me for a loop.
It's definitely a mind-bending concept,
Yeah.
merging human minds with technology. Imagine outsourcing your thoughts, having your dreams guided by algorithms. It begs the question, what does it even mean to be human in such a world?
Right, and there's this one line that really gets to the heart of that. If it's possible, it will be. If it will be, then more is possible than what is possible. It speaks to the exponential nature of technological advancement. If we can imagine it, we can probably create it. But what are the consequences?
That's the big unknown. The text also mentions empty souls in a newborn soul network. It suggests that in this pursuit of technological progress, we might be losing something essential, our sense of self, our individuality, maybe even our souls. But then again, maybe this is just one step on a much longer evolutionary journey.
Okay, now my head is really spinning. We've gone from the horrors of war to the complexities of society, and now the merging of humanity with machines. It's a lot to process, and we haven't even touched on the cosmology yet. We've got black holes, time dilation, the works. Should we take a deep breath and dive into that next?
Absolutely. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. We're about to go from the very human to the truly cosmic. Welcome back to our deep dive into these thought-provoking Russian texts.
Okay, so before we went off on that whirlwind tour of war, society, and AI, you mentioned black holes and time dilation. My brain is still trying to catch up with all of that, so maybe we can ease into the cosmology stuff a bit.
All right, let's start with something you might have pondered before. What happens to time near a black hole?
Well, I know black holes are these incredibly dense objects with massive gravitational pull, but I have to admit my knowledge of time dilation is pretty limited.
Think of it this way. Time is not absolute, it's relative. Near a black hole, the gravity is so strong that it actually warps time, causing it to slow down significantly compared to how time flows here on Earth.
So if I were somehow observing someone falling into a black hole from a safe distance, would it look like they were moving in slow motion?
Yes, exactly. From your perspective, they would appear to slow down as they got closer to the black hole, eventually seeming almost frozen in time. However, from their perspective, time would feel like it's flowing normally.
That's crazy. So time is like this flexible thing that can be stretched and warped by gravity.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this is where that equation from the source material comes in. It asks, assuming maximum time dilation is limited at the black hole by Planck time, what would be the max EG? Now, you don't need to worry about the math itself, but what it implies is fascinating. Planck time, to put it simply, is like the shortest possible tick of a clock imaginable. It's the smallest unit of time that has any meaning in physics.
So the equation is basically trying to figure out the maximum amount of gravity, the max G, that would be needed to slow time down to the absolute limit, this Planck time.
You got it. It highlights how extreme gravity can create conditions where time behaves in ways that defy our everyday intuition. And the text doesn't stop at black holes. It also mentions cosmological time dilation, suggesting that time might be affected by the expansion of the universe itself.
Wait, so time isn't just relative to your location, it could be changing on a cosmic scale as well.
Yes, that's the implication. It's a mind-boggling concept to grasp. But imagine this: as the universe expands, time itself might be stretching, gradually slowing down over eons. Now, remember those phrases we discussed earlier, birthing time and entropy driving forward? They suggest a universe in constant flux where even time isn't static.
It's like this cosmic dance where gravity and expansion are constantly pushing and pulling at the fabric of time and space.
And amidst this grand cosmic ballet, we have these snippets that bring us back down to Earth, grounding us in the human experience. Remember that line about the warmth of a dark room and sleeping children?
It's a beautiful contrast, isn't it? The vastness of the universe, the mind-bending nature of time, and then this simple, intimate image of peace and tranquility.
It reminds us that even as we explore these grand concepts, the human experience remains at the heart of it all. And speaking of the human experience, let's loop back to the theme of technology and its potential impact on society.
Right. I'm still grappling with that idea of empty souls in a newborn soul network. It feels like a warning about the potential dangers of technology if it's not used responsibly. We become so focused on advancement, on pushing the boundaries of what's possible, that we might lose sight of what makes us human.
That's a crucial point. The text also mentions countries being lonely, strange, and wounded, perhaps hinting at how technology can both connect and isolate us. Sure, we're more connected than ever before, but are we truly connecting on a deeper level?
And if we tie this back to that line, weak men create hard times, could it be suggesting that our own flaws and vulnerabilities might be amplified by the very technologies we create?
Absolutely. Technology is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for ill. It's our responsibility to use it wisely, being mindful of the potential consequences, both for ourselves and for society as a whole.
But hold on, we also have that other line about, if it's possible, it will be. If it will be, then more is possible than what is possible. It seems to contradict this idea of technology leading to emptiness. It's almost optimistic, like an embrace of unlimited potential.
And that's a fascinating tension we're grappling with, isn't it? On one hand, a cautionary tale about the potential pitfalls of technology. On the other hand, a recognition of its power to expand our horizons and push the boundaries of human potential.
So are we headed towards a dystopian future where our souls are lost to machines, or are we on the cusp of a new era of human evolution? It feels like we're at a crossroads, and the choices we make now will determine our path.
And that brings us to the core question. What does it mean to be human in a world increasingly shaped by technology and our expanding knowledge of the universe? To answer that, we need to explore these seemingly disparate threads and see how they weave together. Ready to tackle that in the final part of our deep dive?
You bet. Let's go. Okay, we explored war society. AI even touched on the edges of the universe with black holes and time dilation. It's been quite the journey through this collection of Russian texts.
It has been a whirlwind of ideas. But now in this final part, we need to try and synthesize what we've learned. Remember all those seemingly disparate threads. How do they all connect?
Well, one thing that keeps coming back to me is this tension between individual choice and the larger systems we're part of. That line, weak man create hard times, really stuck with me.
It's a powerful statement, isn't it? But if we look deeper, the texts also talk about countries being manipulated, thousands of heads sent to war, thousands of poor worlds to the bottom. It suggests that individuals are often caught in forces beyond their control.
So even with free will, our choices are limited by the systems we live in. We talked about social design and propaganda too, shaping how we think and act.
Exactly. Imagine a game with rules that favor certain players. Can you blame those caught in the system for making choices that benefit the ones in control?
That's a great way to put it. It's like we're all playing this cosmic game, but we didn't get to choose the rules. And then there's technology rapidly changing those rules in ways we don't even fully understand.
Right. We discussed the potential for AI to both liberate and enslave us, to expand our consciousness or leave us with empty souls. Technology itself becomes a force shaping those systems, influencing our choices, perhaps even our very essence.
It's both exhilarating and terrifying. Remember the line, if it's possible, it will be. If it will be, then more is possible than what is possible. It captures that boundless potential, but also the unknown consequences.
And this leads us to that profound question posed in the texts. What does a person do when they have everything, when their thoughts are outsourced, when their dreams are guided? What do they live for? It gets to the heart of what it means to be human in this rapidly evolving world.
It's almost existential. If technology can solve our problems, fulfill our needs, even curate our experiences, what's left for us to strive for? Where do we find meaning?
Perhaps that's where the connection to the cosmos comes in. We've talked about time dilation, the vastness of the universe, the interplay of entropy and creation. Contemplating these grand concepts can help us find meaning beyond our individual selves, beyond the limitations of our technology, even beyond our earthly existence.
It's like looking up at the stars on a clear night. You feel so small and significant even, but at the same time connected to something much larger than yourself.
Exactly. That sense of awe and wonder, that feeling of belonging to something grand and mysterious can ground us, even as the world around us changes at an accelerating pace.
So what does it all mean? What have we learned from this deep dive into these Russian texts?
I think the key takeaway is that we're at a pivotal point in human history. Technology is rapidly evolving, our understanding of the universe is expanding, and the choices we make today will have profound implications for our future. The texts don't provide easy answers, but they challenge us to grapple with these complex questions, to consider the interplay of individual choice, societal forces, and the ever-evolving landscape of technology.
And perhaps to remember our place within the grand scheme of the cosmos. To look beyond ourselves, beyond our immediate concerns, and find meaning in the pursuit of knowledge, in the beauty of existence, and in the connections we forge with each other and the world around us.
It's a journey of exploration and discovery, and each of us has a role to play. So to you, our listener, we leave you with this. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking meaning in the face of complexity and change. And never forget to look up at the stars.
Until next time, keep diving deep.